King Shit's reactions. Let's get into it.
And you believe in banning abortions, right?
I'm pro-life, yes.
Even in cases of incest and rape?
Yes.
Why?
Because this is a sort of a fundamental definitional question. If you believe life begins at conception, then regardless of the source of the life, it now has an independent interest in life. So that is not to minimize the tremendous evil of rape or incest. I believe rapists should be executed, frankly, or chemically castrated at best. But that's sort of a different question from the independent source of life and whether this, again, it gets back to definitions. And this conversation tends to be either you're on one side of that or the other. If you don't believe life begins at conception, then obviously you believe abortion is acceptable in a wide variety of circumstances. If you believe it's an independent life deserving of protection, then you believe it's an independent life deserving of protection.
Lauren, what do you think about that? I'm just as a woman.
I think that a woman should be able to choose to do what she wants to do wherever she decides to do it. I believe that women should be able to abort babies if they want to, if they feel like that's what they need to do.
You know, this is a big topic. It's a very big topic. They're talking about whether a woman should be able to abort her baby or keep it. So Lauren, as she just said, she said that she'll be able to do what she want to do with her body. You know what I'm saying? Keep it or not keep it. But then you have other conversations about what about the father? It's like the father doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If the father doesn't want to have a child, even though it took two of y'all to make it, the sole, you know what I'm saying, decision is made up solely to the woman. You know what I'm saying? And how would that feel? Because if she want to keep it and I don't want to keep it, then I ain't got no say so about it. But if I want a child from her, I want to keep it, and she doesn't want to keep it, then it's my body. I can do what I want to do. You ain't gotta hold it 6 months. You ain't gotta bear the child for 6 months in your stomach. So it's what y'all think about that?
Do you have a time limit on that, out of curiosity?
I mean, I think it should happen earlier on if it were me making a decision for myself. But I think it's up to the woman and what she's personally experiencing and what she personally went through. I really think it's a per person thing. That's why I think it's crazy when you have like these structures and these like people who are not in that situation making the decision for the woman of what you can and can't do.
I guess you talk about people who not in that situation is sound like you talking about men. Because the only person can relate to that is women. Because they're the only ones who can get pregnant.
Because it's very like per person. My situation might be different than another woman who's sitting next to me.
Right. So again, this is sort of the definitional issue that we're talking about, because you're talking about what a woman should be allowed to do. And what I'm talking about is the definition of personhood of the separate person inside the woman. I think that what I'd push on is.
So now he's talking about thinking for the baby. Does it matter if the child already has a heartbeat or if the child is just, you know what I'm saying? We just know that the woman is impregnated and it's just a seed planted. No heartbeat, nothing developed.
Why do you personally believe that a woman should have an abortion earlier?
I think from personal experience, I've been in a situation. I just think emotionally and mentally, it's less that you think about, but it does depend on how you think of when the life is formed or should be looked at as like a life that you
right. So that
yeah.
I think is the big question, and that's where the disconnect is. But
what I'm saying is that's always going to be different for each person.
But I don't think that the subjective definition of life is how we define life, meaning that you being uncomfortable with a woman having an abortion in the 9th month, you're saying that just because you're uncomfortable with it, that doesn't mean that you should stop a woman from doing that. My point.
And you have abortion, if you in the last month of, you know what I'm saying, you about to have a baby, can you have abortion then? I know that I'm in the state of Georgia right now, and in the state of Georgia, the law is you can't have no abortion. So if you impregnated, you stuck with that baby. I don't want to use the word stuck, but you know what I'm saying, you can't have no abortion. So.
Is that life has a definition, right? We all agree, for example, that a 1-month-old baby should not be drowned. Right? We all agree on that, and that's not up to the personal. Should not be drowned. You shouldn't take the baby and drown it in a bathtub, right? And the question is, well, why? Because
first of all, because your ass going to prison if you drown that baby. It don't matter what type of state of mind. It don't matter if you ain't wanting to move. But I think he's trying to hit on. Okay, what if, you know what I'm saying, you done gave birth to the baby and then a month that went by and all of a sudden you see like it's too hard and I want to abort the baby. What's the difference?
we now understand that the 1-month-old baby, everyone agrees with this, right? That except for Peter Singer at Princeton, that a 1-month-old baby has an independent interest in life, right? That is a life that is separate from the woman and requires protection. Okay, so if it is a life, then we now have an objective definition. It doesn't matter what the state of mind of the woman is. It doesn't matter if she thought, you know what, I have a really tough life. My life will be better off if this baby is drowned, if I don't have to deal with this baby. And so
You're gonna be worried because you're going to prison for life.
I'm going to drown the baby. The baby has an independent actual interest in living. And so the question becomes, is that true before birth? And I think for the vast majority of Americans are actually somewhere where you are practically, meaning that the vast majority of Americans do see in sort of a soft way a distinction between, the early stages of life, month 2 and 9-month, right? Like the approval in America of abortion at the very late stages is very, very low because most Americans.
It stops around like 4 or 5 months for most people, right?
Well,
like,
I mean,
most places.
most abortions are performed in the first trimester.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But the point that I'm making is that the logic that you're using allows for abortion like literally right before the baby is born. And so then the question becomes, why is that okay? And it's not a woman's choice at that point whether that is a life or not, because you don't get to artificially or subjectively define the meaning of
I get
things.
that. We're playing with semantics, though. But
Yeah,
like,
that's what
It's not semantic. Either it's a life or it's not a life,
If your
right?
daughter was raped,
No,
it's almost like you're saying she's raped, but I'm gonna make her have this child.
No, I mean,
Because you're saying you don't believe in abortion, even if rape and incest, right?
What I'm saying there is that I don't believe in abortion in cases of rape and incest. The practical effect is horrible. Okay, I'm not going to pretend that it is not emotionally horrifying, that particular situation. The question is whether it has an independent interest in life or not, and whether there's a third party involved. If you don't believe there's a third party deserving of protection, I totally get it. I get it. But we should understand that that's the actual conversation. The actual conversation is about whether you believe that this is an interested third party being. Do you get to kill that interested third party being, this human life with potential, or do you not? If you, and so the actual argument that I don't like is the idea that you can, that everybody, it's up to every single person to define when life begins and when life does not begin. That actually is not true, right? There's either a standard or there's not a standard. Now you can say that life begins when the baby is independent of the mom. Okay? I think it's a very dicey biological argument, and I think most Americans agree with that life only begins when the baby exits.
I think it begins with a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's where most Americans are, and that's
Yes.
extremely early, right? And so if that's extremely, if the life begins with the heartbeat, then you're now talking about, depending on your definition of a heartbeat, somewhere between 6 and 10 weeks, right? Very, very, very early. And so if that is now has an independent interest, you're talking about abortion restrictions very early on. And so that's why, a lot of red states have signed heartbeat laws, for example. Right? And so, again, I think that the clarity is good, right? Because now we can have a conversation. Where do you think life begins? And that's a better conversation than the sort of assumption by, I think, people who are not pro-life, that pro-life is just about controlling the woman's body. No, it isn't, okay? It really is not. Like for pro-lifers, it has literally nothing to do with the woman's body. It has to do with the independent interest of the life inside the woman.
Once you define it, depending on your definition, it does control what a woman can and can't do with her body.
Well, there are downstream effects to definitions, of course, right? I mean, if I define life as it begins at a heartbeat, then that is going to have public policy ramifications that affect, I mean, just as in anything else. If I define theft in a particular way, that's going to have downstream effects on people who commit that definition of the crime. And if I broaden the definition, it's going to include more people. And that's true for literally any legal term. It's true for any word that we use in life. As you expand the definition, it affects more people in different ways. But that doesn't change the necessity to have the conversation about what the definition is. And I think it's an easy way out to basically say, well, I have a definition of life, but, and it gets into very dicey territory because historically people have defined away entire populations as not human. And so we can't do that, right? Like you really don't want people looking at other people and saying, well, I don't think that
The color of your skin. Why?
this person, I mean, to take the obvious and most controversial example, for a huge percentage of American history, there was a wide variety of people in America who believed black people were not fully human and
It was in
therefore
the
you couldn't enslave.
There you go.
Three-fifths compromise.
Correct. And so like so was that a subjective question? That was not a subjective question. Black people are fully human and just as human as white people, equal, the same, right? Like and so if somebody were to say, listen, I personally am anti-slavery, right? I think that slavery is personally wrong.
All right, bro. We get it, man. We getting into that's another touchy topic too. Talk about slavery and all that. Now he gotta explain. You know what I'm saying? Him using slavery as as an example, a definition of a question. But you know what I'm saying? Come on, let's get back to the topic.
But it's really up to every person to define for themselves whether a black person is fully a human or not fully a human. Be like, what the?
I don't think you can
like,
compare those two things.
Why?
Just because I think, you know, if I'm making, so if you're a slave master, right, and you say, I believe slavery is right because black people aren't human, like, that's a decision that you're making that is based on things like, you know, what the slaves can do for you on your property. Like the benefit of what slavery will do for that slave master is so different than if a woman has to have a baby because she was raped and how that will affect her life. Like that, I think you have a decision that you can make a lot easier.
It's almost like you force a woman twice, right? Because
yeah,
she
like,
says
do
no,
I become a slave master or not versus do I have a baby or not?
She has this baby and now she's forced to have
Let's
a
try a
child.
Jewish analogy. Go.
Sure. So I mean, sure. So if there was an entire population.
Charlamagne on Buddy's side though. I like how Charlamagne he controlled the damn he controlled all the conversation. Like, all right, y'all be fuck quiet, let the man talk.
In Europe, that was considered subhuman by the Nazis, and they were exterminated. If you said, I am personally against the extermination of the Jews, but I understand why Germans could think that Jews are subhuman. And so, you know, it really is up to every individual to determine whether a Jew is human or not fully human and can be put in the back of a van and gassed. We'd be like, what in the world?
You're saying there should be no pro-choice in regards to that?
Yeah, so the definitions are not a matter of choice. Definitions are a matter of actual objective fact. Otherwise, we can't even have a conversation. Because if words have meanings, then we all have to agree on at least that, right? That much we have to agree on is the meaning of the words. And when it comes to, you know, sort of the slave master analogy, the point that I'm making here is not about the personal experience of the slave master. In fact, I'm saying it's completely irrelevant. What I'm saying is that the reason that slavery was wrong is because black people are fully independent human beings who require the protection of the law in the same way as everyone else. And if you're a pro-lifer, you believe that's also true of the unborn.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm a pro-choice person.
If life starts in the womb, which it does, but it really starts when the baby grows a heartbeat. And he talking about, you know what I'm saying, now the baby should have a choice whether it want to be born or killed or whatnot. But when you have to have a brain to think, and even if the baby had a brain, the baby is like, it's handicapped in the brain. His brain ain't developed. He has a brain, but he can't really think. So if somebody has a gun to his head and his life is about to end, he don't got that knowledge. You know what I mean? So
how come pro-life people aren't anti-war?
Well, I mean,
because
I think everybody is anti-war. I think the question is the definition of when war is appropriate. I don't who's running around going like, war is awesome. Yes, more war. Okay, let's do it.
So 50,000 kids have been killed in Gaza because of this current war.
Depends on the definitions and the list that you're getting. Right. Well, I mean, also depends on how you're defining kid, because the way that Hamas defines kid is very different than how they define kid when it comes to recruiting for Hamas, right? They're 15-year-olds with AKs on the battlefield, unfortunately.
Out of the womb.
It is not 50,000 out of the womb. Okay. I mean, if you're talking about like very, very small children, it is much, much lower than that.
My point is there are children that are being killed.
Yes, who have died as collateral damage in the war, yes.
So shouldn't pro-lifers be totally against that?
Well, I mean, I'm against the death of any innocent human being. The question is, when you're doing foreign policy, how you prevent more deaths in the future. And the point that I think Israel is making is this war was
you're basing it off legislation, and it's actually not a matter of morals and values. Or religion.
Of course, it's a matter of morals and values. But you can't be. Let's put it this way: it's incredibly reductive to simply say that if you are a moral person, then you oppose all war, because what that does, it allows immoral people to then use that against you to destroy your civilization. If your community is attacked and bad people who don't have the same values as you decide to kill you, kill your children, rape your wife, and kill her, are you supposed to say, well, I'm anti-war, and so I'm going to sit here and do nothing?
So isn't that the same if somebody rapes a woman and impregnates them? Shouldn't, in that case, that person be allowed to make a choice?
Well, no, the point is that the prevention, this is why you should minimize civilian casualties. To get back to the beginning of the conversation, this is why it's independently moral to try as much as possible to minimize civilian casualties. Right? When it comes to abortion, the idea is you can minimize that casualty by just preventing it.
How can you prevent being raped?
Well, I mean, that's a different question. Again,
but let's talk about that, because what I don't like is
listen. First of all, when we're talking about rape and abortion, we should note that well over 99% of abortions are not undertaken because of rape. And so, if you want to come with me and ban all abortions except for rape, I'll probably make that trade for you. Meaning, if you want to ban all abortions, elective abortions, and what I have to do is give up abortion with regard to rape and incest, that is a trade on a pragmatic level politically that I would make.
Because he just said, because, you know what I'm saying, the majority of abortions don't come from, like, you know what I'm saying, rapes or whatnot, man. I mean, he's saying that the majority of women that have gotten raped, you know what I'm saying, and gotten impregnated by this rapist, they didn't make the decision to get an abortion. Statistically, I guess that's what he's saying. So he said, well, I trade it because it's more people that's having abortions that's not being raped, you know what I'm saying, getting impregnated. Which makes sense because people having babies all over the place every single day, a baby being born. It's not because of rape. It's because people is being careless. You know, you don't want the responsibility of a child. You know, you're not ready, financially stable, to have children, but you having sex. Have sex with a condom, at least. We know condoms break, but at least you slim your chances, you know what I'm saying, getting pregnant. If you out here having sex recklessly, you know what I'm saying, slanging things all over the place, and you know what I'm saying, being promiscuous or whatever, all of a sudden you get pregnant, and now you don't want the baby, then that's the decision you made, you know what I'm saying? You made a careless decision because you know what the outcome might be. Sexually transmitted diseases, getting pregnant, you know what I mean, things of that nature. So you gotta protect yourself if you wanna have some fun. Shit, 15, 20 minutes of fun, you know what I'm saying, could cause you your life.
Okay, so you're not dying on that hill. Like,
Well, it's not that I believe that, again, rape and incest, I think, is the reason people choose that argument is because it's the hardest argument to make emotionally from the pro-life side. But I think that we should note that the vast majority of abortions have nothing to do with rape or incest. They have to do with elective abortions. Was that?
You never got the wrong person pregnant?
Jesus.
No, my wife 4 times, thank God.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below.
All right. So I made a statement about people being protected, and you know what I'm saying, and preventing, you know what I'm saying, these mistakes from happening. If you want to, I guess you want to call it a mistake. If you want to go ahead and get an abortion, if you get pregnant, it was a mistake that you made on your behalf, but it was a careless mistake. Man, everybody do it all the wrong time. We just talk about it in general about, you know what I'm saying, you getting pregnant, a woman getting pregnant. Even if she married, what if she don't want to have no kids and y'all agreed on that? Okay, I don't want to have no kids either, but y'all still having sex unprotected. Potentially, she gonna get pregnant somewhere down the line. If you know what I'm saying, if she fertile, she gonna get pregnant. So now you want to get an abortion? That's all I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you gotta make a better decision, man. When it comes to having sex, man, protect yourself. That's all, man. That'll nip that in the bud. Feel what I'm saying? Well, till the next time, man. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel, man. Tell me your thoughts. Go to the Breakfast Club if you want to look at the full interview. You know what I'm saying? With this guy. Be safe out there, man. Till the next episode. This has been another segment of King Shit Media.